Captain Veltar floated in the command center of his ship, watching the warning lights flash red across every surface. The gentle current was dying. Systems failed one by one as power drained from the biocores that kept his people alive. Through the clear walls of the ship, he could see the beautiful blue and green planet they had come to study. Now it would probably be the last thing he ever saw. The Zephyrians were a peaceful people. They lived in the deep oceans of their homeworld, building cities from living coral and studying the mysteries of the universe. Veltar's skin was pale blue and almost see-through, like all his kind. Gills on his neck moved slowly as he breathed the water-rich air of his ship. His large eyes, designed for the dark depths of his world, could see every detail of the disaster around him. The ship shook again. Another explosion somewhere in the lower decks. His crew of 12 scientists and explorers worked frantically at their stations, but there was little they could do. The attack had come without warning. One moment they were scanning the planet's oceans for signs of life. The next moment, 5 alien warships appeared from nowhere and started shooting. Captain, his second officer Kindal, swam over to him with her fins moving in distress patterns. The Kraxans are preparing to board us. Our shields are down to 8%. Veltar's heart sank even further. The Kraxans were the nightmare of this part of the galaxy. They were large insect-like creatures with hard shells and sharp claws. They traveled in packs, attacking peaceful ships and taking prisoners. No one knew exactly what they did with their captives, but the few who escaped told horrible stories. "How long before they break through our hull?" Veltar asked. 10 minutes, maybe less, Kindal replied. Her voice carried the fear they all felt. Through the ship's sensors, Veltar could see the Kraxan vessels. They were dark and angular like giant space insects. Weapon ports glowed red along their sides. Small attack craft swarmed around the gentle current like angry wasps. The largest Kraxan ship was 3 times bigger than his own vessel. Veltar had studied these creatures during his years as a scientist. The Kraxans came from a world of constant war. They fought each other for thousands of years before discovering space travel. Now they brought that same violence to other worlds. They especially like to capture members of peaceful species, studying them like lab animals. "Sir," another crew member called out. "They're launching boarding pods." On the main screen, Veltar watched small dark shapes shoot out from the Kraxan ships. Each pod contained soldiers ready to cut through his ship's hull and capture his crew. The Zephyrians had no weapons beyond simple tools. They had never needed them. Veltar's mind raced through options, but there were none. His ship was a research vessel, not a warship. They had no shields worth mentioning, no weapons, and no armor. The gentle current was built for exploration and discovery, not for fighting space pirates. "Captain, should we surrender?" Kindal asked quietly. Veltar considered this. The Kraxans sometimes kept prisoners alive if they gave up without a fight. But the stories of what happened to those prisoners made him shudder. His people would face a fate worse than death. "No," he said firmly. "We are scientists. We came here to learn and explore. I will not let our last act be one of cowardice." Then an idea struck him. It was desperate, probably useless, but it was better than doing nothing. "Kindal, prepare the emergency beacon. Send out a distress call on all frequencies." His second officer looked confused. "Sir, there are no other Zephyrian ships in this system. The closest help is months away." "Not to our people," Veltar explained. "To anyone who might be listening. We know there are other species out there. Other civilizations. Maybe someone will hear us." Kindal's expression showed doubt, but she followed orders. What should the message say? Veltar thought carefully. If other aliens received their call, they needed to understand the situation quickly. Use the universal mathematics code. Tell them we are peaceful explorers under attack by hostile forces. Give our location and ask for help. Include information about our species and our mission. The ship shook violently as the first boarding pod hit their hull. Sparks flew from damaged systems. Emergency lights cast strange shadows on the walls. "Message prepared, Captain," Kindal reported. "Send it. Maximum power. Broadcast on every frequency we know." The beacon activated with a deep hum that Veltar could feel through the water around him. The message shot out into space at the speed of light, carrying their desperate plea to anyone who might be listening. Mathematical symbols that any intelligent species should understand told their story. Location coordinates. Descriptions of their peaceful nature. Details about the attacking force. "How long before the Kraxans break through?" Veltar asked. 3 minutes, came the reply from engineering. Veltar closed his large eyes and tried to stay calm. His people did not believe in violence, but they were not cowards. If this was to be their end, they would face it with dignity. The ship's hull groaned under stress. Warning alarms filled the air with their urgent sounds. Through the walls, Veltar could hear the Kraxan cutting tools working to breach their defenses. Soon, armed soldiers would pour into his ship. "Captain," the communications officer called out suddenly. "I'm detecting something strange. What is it?" "Unknown signals. Very faint. Coming from the edge of the system." Veltar's heart jumped. Could someone have heard their distress call so quickly? But that was impossible. Their message had only been traveling for 2 minutes. "Are you certain?" "Yes, sir. Multiple contacts, moving very fast toward our position." Before Veltar could respond, a terrible grinding sound filled the ship. The Kraxans had broken through the hull. Emergency barriers slammed shut as atmosphere began to leak into space. His crew moved quickly to emergency stations, but they all knew it was too late. "Kraxan soldiers are inside the ship," security reported. "They're moving toward the command center." Veltar looked around at his crew. These were good people, scientists and explorers who had dedicated their lives to learning about the universe. They did not deserve this fate. "I want everyone to know," he said over the ship's communication system, "that it has been an honor to serve with you. Whatever happens next, remember that we came here in peace. That means something." The unknown signals at the edge of the system were getting stronger. Veltar wondered who they might be. Another peaceful species like his own? Perhaps traders who would simply watch and do nothing? Or maybe something worse than the Kraxans? Heavy footsteps echoed through the corridors of his ship. The Kraxans were coming. Their hard shell feet made sharp clicking sounds on the deck. Soon they would be here. Veltar straightened his shoulders and prepared to face whatever came next. He had done everything he could. The beacon was still broadcasting their message into space. If other civilizations existed out there, at least they would know what happened here. Maybe they would learn from the Gentle Current's fate. The door to the command center began to glow red as Kraxan cutting tools worked on it from the other side. But the mysterious signals were getting closer. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, her hands clasped behind her back as she watched the stars through the massive viewing window. The ship was 3 kilometers long and built like a flying fortress. Its thick armor plates could withstand direct hits from nuclear weapons. Inside, 2,000 of humanity's finest soldiers waited for orders. Chen was 52 years old, with gray streaks in her black hair and scars on her hands from 20 years of military service. She had fought in the resource wars on Earth, led troops during the Martian Rebellion, and commanded fleets in the brutal campaigns of the outer colonies. Her crew trusted her completely because she had never sent them anywhere she would not go herself. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Morrison from the communication station. "We're receiving an unknown signal." Chen turned toward him. The 3rd Expeditionary Fleet was on patrol duty at the edge of human space, watching for pirates and ensuring the safety of trade routes. They rarely encountered anything more dangerous than smugglers. "What kind of signal?" she asked. Morrison frowned at his instruments. "It appears to be a distress call, but it's not from any human ship. The transmission is using mathematical codes we've never seen before." Chen felt her pulse quicken. Humanity had been exploring space for over 200 years, but they had never found signs of intelligent alien life. There were theories and guesses, but no proof. "Put it through the translation computers," she ordered. "I want to know what it says." The bridge crew worked quickly. These were professional soldiers trained for any situation. The Indomitable was equipped with the most advanced technology humanity could build. Its computers could break almost any code or language pattern. "Translation coming through now," Morrison reported. "Admiral, you need to hear this." The message played over the bridge speakers. A calm computer voice read the translated text. "This is Captain Veltar of the Zephyrian research vessel Gentle Current. We are peaceful explorers conducting scientific studies in the Kepler 442 system. We are under attack by hostile forces called Kraxans. Our ship is heavily damaged and our crew is in immediate danger. We are a non-violent species with no military capabilities. Please, if anyone receives this message, we need help." The bridge fell silent. Chen stared at the speakers as if she could see through them to the aliens who had sent the message. "Are you certain this is real?" she asked. "Computer analysis shows no signs of deception or artificial creation," Morrison replied. "The mathematical structures are too complex and consistent to be fake." "Admiral, this appears to be genuine first contact with an alien species." Chen's mind raced through the implications. First contact with aliens was something humanity had dreamed about for centuries. But these aliens were under attack, and by the sound of it, they could not defend themselves. "Show me their location," she ordered. The main screen lit up with a star map. A red dot marked the Kepler 442 system, approximately 6 hours away at maximum speed. "Commander Rodriguez," Chen called to her second officer. "What is our current mission status?" "Routine patrol, Admiral. No urgent assignments. We have full operational freedom for the next 2 weeks." Chen nodded. The Terran Federation had given her fleet broad authority to handle threats and emergencies in this sector. This certainly qualified as an emergency. "Chief Medical Officer Harrison to the bridge," she announced over the ship's communications system. Dr. Harrison arrived quickly, a tall woman with steady hands and calm eyes. She had saved countless lives during the colony wars. "Doctor, we may be dealing with injured aliens in approximately 6 hours. Do we have any idea how to provide medical assistance to non-human life forms?" Harrison thought for a moment. "Our medical computers contain theoretical treatments for various biological systems. It's not much, but it's better than nothing. We can adapt our equipment as needed." "Good. Chief Engineer Martinez, report to the bridge." Martinez was a stocky man with grease under his fingernails and an encyclopedic knowledge of human technology. He had kept Chen's ships running through 3 different wars. "Chief, we may need to provide emergency repairs to an alien vessel using completely unknown technology. Are we prepared for that?" Martinez grinned. "Admiral, human engineering can adapt to anything. We'll figure it out." Chen looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. These people had signed up to protect human colonies and trade routes. Now she was asking them to risk their lives for aliens they had never met. "I want everyone to understand what we're about to do," she said clearly. "We are potentially making first contact with an alien species. These aliens appear to be peaceful scientists under attack by hostile forces. Command protocol requires us to consider the political and military implications of any action we take." She paused, letting her words sink in. "However," she continued, "I am not going to sit here and debate politics while innocent beings are murdered by space pirates. The Terran Federation's core principles include the protection of civilians and the opposition of unprovoked aggression. These principles apply regardless of species." The bridge crew nodded their agreement. Chen felt proud of them. Humanity had spent centuries learning to be better than their violent past. They had built a civilization based on protecting the innocent and helping those in need. "Navigation. Plot a course for the Kepler 442 system. Maximum speed. Course plotted, Admiral. Communications, send a message to the rest of the fleet. All ships are to prepare for combat operations and potential humanitarian assistance. We are responding to an alien distress call." "Message sent, Admiral." Chen turned to her weapons officer, Lieutenant Commander Jackson. He was a quiet man who could calculate firing solutions faster than most computers. "Jackson, what is our fleet's current combat status?" "All 12 ships are fully operational, Admiral. We have 3 dreadnoughts including the Indomitable, 4 heavy cruisers and 5 destroyers. Total armament includes 600 plasma cannons, 300 railguns, and over 2,000 nuclear torpedoes." Chen nodded grimly. The 3rd Expeditionary Fleet was designed to handle major threats to human space. Each ship was a marvel of military engineering, built to fight and win against any enemy. "Admiral," Morrison called from communications. "The alien distress signal is still broadcasting. It sounds like they're still alive, but barely. How long to reach their position?" 5 hours and 43 minutes at current speed." Chen stared at the star map, calculating distances and possibilities. Somewhere out there, peaceful aliens were fighting for their lives against unknown attackers. Humanity's response to this situation would shape how the galaxy saw them for generations to come. "All hands, this is Admiral Chen," she announced over the fleet communication system. "We are responding to the first confirmed distress call from an alien species in human history. These aliens appear to be peaceful scientists under attack by hostile forces. Our mission is to provide assistance and ensure their safety." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "I know this is not what any of us expected when we woke up this morning, but this is why we wear the uniform. This is why we serve. The strong protect the weak. It does not matter if they are human or alien. It is what we do." The fleet changed course, 12 warships accelerating toward an unknown situation. Chen remained on the bridge, watching the stars and thinking about the message they had received. Peaceful explorers conducting scientific studies. A non-violent species with no military capabilities. Humanity was about to show the galaxy what they thought of bullies who attacked the innocent. The Kraxan Queen Commander Skrixtal stood in the control center of her flagship Death's Mandible, watching her soldiers board the alien research vessel. Through the dark compound eyes that covered half her head, she could see everything happening around her ship. Her forearms moved across control surfaces while her sharp mandibles clicked together in satisfaction. The Zephyrians had been easier prey than expected. Their ship was fragile, built for exploration rather than fighting. Skrixtal's warriors had cut through their hull like cutting through soft fruit. Soon she would have new specimens for the breeding programs back home. "Commander?" Her second-in-command hissed through his breathing slits. "Our boarding teams have secured most of the alien vessel. They found 12 crew members. All alive." Skrixtal's mandibles clicked faster. 12 new test subjects would please the Hive Council. The Kraxans had been studying other species for decades, trying to understand what made some races stronger than others. The Zephyrians looked particularly interesting with their water-adapted biology. "Excellent. Have them prepared for transport to the breeding ships." The Kraxan fleet consisted of 5 vessels. 3 were warships designed for quick strikes and boarding actions. 2 were specialized ships for holding prisoners and conducting experiments. Everything the Kraxans did was focused on making their own species stronger through violence and conquest. Skrixtal herself was a perfect example of Kraxan evolution. She stood 3 meters tall on powerful legs that could leap incredible distances. Her exoskeleton could stop most projectile weapons. Her forearms each ended in claws sharp enough to cut through metal. Like all Kraxan commanders, she had earned her position by defeating rivals in personal combat. "Commander," the sensor operator called out, "I am detecting unusual readings at the edge of the system." Skrixtal turned 2 of her 4 eyes toward the sensor displays. "What kind of readings?" "Unknown energy signatures. Multiple contacts approaching at high speed." Skrixtal's interest grew. Perhaps another species had heard the Zephyrian distress call. More prey would be welcome. The Hive was always hungry for new genetic material. "How many ships?" 12 contacts, Commander. They are moving faster than any vessels in our database." This was puzzling. Most species the Kraxans encountered had slow, peaceful ships like the Zephyrians. Very few had military vessels that could match Kraxan speed. "Time to intercept?" "Approximately 10 minutes, Commander." Skrixtal considered her options. Her 5 ships had already proven superior to the alien research vessel. Unless these newcomers had significantly more ships or better weapons, they would simply provide more prisoners for the Hive. "Recall half our boarding teams. Prepare for combat if necessary." The unknown ships grew larger on the sensors. Skrixtal studied their energy signatures and movement patterns. They flew in perfect formation like a military fleet. Their ships appeared to be heavily armed and armored. "Commander?" The sensor operator's voice carried a note of concern. "These vessels are much larger than our initial readings suggested. The biggest one is over 3 kilometers long." Skrixtal's confidence wavered slightly. The largest Kraxan ship was barely 1 kilometer long. But size did not always mean strength. Many peaceful species built large, impressive ships that could not fight. "What are their weapon signatures?" "Difficult to determine, Commander. They are using shielding technology we have not seen before." The unknown fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. On the main screen, Skrixtal could see them clearly for the first time. The ships were gray and angular, built with sharp edges and aggressive designs. They looked like flying weapons. The largest vessel led the formation. Its hull bristled with weapon ports and sensor arrays. Smaller ships flanked it on both sides, moving with perfect coordination. Everything about their approach suggested professional military organization. "Incoming transmission," the communications officer announced. "Put it through," Skrixtal ordered. Instead of words, the message came as action. A projectile moving at incredible speed struck the Death's Mandible just forward of the main weapon array. The impact shook the entire ship and left a crater where one of their plasma cannons used to be. Skrixtal's mandibles spread wide in shock. The projectile had been a simple piece of metal, but it had been moving so fast that it hit with the force of a small nuclear weapon. None of her sensors had detected the shot until it was too late. Before she could react, a voice came over the communication system. It spoke in the mathematical language the Zephyrians had used, but the tone was completely different. Where the aliens had been pleading and desperate, this voice was calm and absolutely certain. "This is Admiral Chen of the Terran Federation. You have exactly 60 seconds to withdraw from the civilian vessel and explain your hostile actions." Failure to comply will result in your complete destruction. Scrixtel stared at the communication system in disbelief. These unknown aliens were threatening her? The Kraxans were the dominant military force in this region of space. No one gave ultimatums to the Hive. Open a channel, she commanded. Channel open. Commander. Unknown vessels, Scrixtel transmitted. You are interfering with a legitimate salvage operation. The ship you are protecting was abandoned in space. We have claimed it according to standard protocol. The response was immediate and harsh. Admiral Chen to unknown vessels. Our sensors clearly show your soldiers boarding a ship with living crew members. You have 50 seconds to withdraw. Scrixtel's anger began to build. Her species had conquered dozens of worlds and enslaved countless other races. These newcomers would learn to show proper respect. Communications officer, send a full tactical scan to the fleet. I want to know everything about these ships. The scan results appeared on her screens. What she saw made her pause. The unknown vessels carried more weapons than seemed possible for their size. Their armor appeared to be incredibly thick. Most concerning, their power readings suggested reactors far more advanced than anything the Kraxans possessed. Commander, her tactical officer reported, their smallest ship has more firepower than our largest cruiser. Impossible, Scrixtel snapped. Run the scan again. The second scan confirmed the first results. These newcomers had brought overwhelming force to this system. 30 seconds, came Admiral Chen's voice over the communication channel. Scrixtel's mind raced. The smart thing would be to withdraw and report this encounter to the Hive Council. But retreating from aliens who had threatened her would be seen as cowardice. Her position as Queen Commander would be in danger. More importantly, the Kraxan way was to respond to threats with greater violence. It was how they had conquered their own world and how they had defeated every enemy since reaching space. All ships, she commanded her fleet, prepare for combat. These aliens need to learn respect for the Hive. Her weapons officer's claws danced over control surfaces. Weapons charged and ready, Commander. 10 seconds. Admiral Chen's voice continued the countdown. Scrixtel looked at her fleet commanders on the communication screen. They were all experienced warriors who had won many battles. Her ships were fast, well-armed, and crewed by soldiers who lived for combat. Time has expired, came the human voice. All ships attack, Scrixtel commanded. The Kraxan fleet opened fire with everything they had. Plasma beams and particle weapons lanced through space toward the unknown vessels. Missiles streaked away from launch tubes, their warheads capable of cracking planets. For a moment, space was filled with the light of weapons fire. Scrixtel watched the attack with satisfaction. No species could survive that much concentrated firepower. Then the enemy returned fire, and Scrixtel learned what real weapons looked like. The human fleet's response was swift and terrible. Admiral Chen stood calmly on the bridge of the Indomitable as her weapons officer coordinated the attack. The Kraxans had made their choice. Now they would learn why humanity had survived and thrived on one of the most dangerous worlds in the galaxy. All ships, weapons free, Chen commanded. Target their weapons and engines first. I want prisoners for questioning. The 12 human vessels opened fire as one. Railguns launched metal slugs at significant fractions of light speed. Plasma cannons sent streams of superheated matter across space. Nuclear torpedoes streaked toward their targets with computer-guided precision. On the gentle current, Captain Veltar pressed himself against the viewing wall and watched in amazement. The human ships moved like hunting predators, each one choosing its target and attacking with devastating efficiency. Their weapons lit up space with deadly colors. The first Kraxan ship to die was a cruiser that had made the mistake of charging directly at the human destroyer Relentless. The human ship's main railgun fired once. The tungsten slug punched through the Kraxan vessel's armor like it was made of paper, traveled the entire length of the ship, and exited the other side. The cruiser broke apart in a series of explosions. Scrixtel watched from her flagship in growing horror. The unknown aliens' weapons were impossibly powerful. Their metal projectiles moved faster than anything she had ever seen. The plasma beams cut through Kraxan armor like hot knives through soft plastic. Evasive maneuvers, she commanded. All ships spread formation. But the human ships had anticipated this. They moved to surround the Kraxan fleet, cutting off escape routes while maintaining perfect firing solutions. It was like watching professional hunters work together to bring down dangerous prey. The Kraxan ship, Bone Crusher, tried to ram the human cruiser Defiant. It was a desperate move, but ramming attacks were a traditional Kraxan tactic. The insectoid warriors believed that courage and aggression could overcome any technological advantage. The Defiant's captain had other ideas. As the Kraxan ship approached, the human vessel activated its collision protocols. Thick armor plates slid into position while emergency shields powered up to maximum strength. When the two ships met, the results were spectacular. The bone crusher crumpled against the human ship's reinforced bow like an egg hitting a rock. The Kraxan vessel's hull split open, venting atmosphere and debris into space. The Defiant emerged from the collision with nothing more than scratched paint and a few dented armor plates. Captain Veltar realized he was watching something unprecedented. These humans fought like nothing he had ever imagined. Their ships were built for war in a way that no peaceful species would ever understand. Every system, every weapon, every piece of armor was designed by beings who knew how to kill efficiently. But there was something else. The humans could have destroyed every Kraxan ship in the first few seconds of the battle. Instead, they were targeting weapons and engines, trying to disable rather than destroy. Even in combat, they were showing restraint. "Commander!" the Kraxan tactical officer screamed to Skrikstal. "The Razor Wing and Blood Drinker are completely disabled. The Flesh Render is losing atmosphere." Skrikstal stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Half her fleet was already out of the fight, and the battle had lasted less than 5 minutes. The human ships continued to move with perfect coordination, their weapons picking apart Kraxan vessels with surgical precision. "How are they so accurate?" she demanded. "Unknown, Commander. Their targeting systems appear to predict our movements before we make them." The truth was even more impressive than the Kraxans realized. The human ships were equipped with artificial intelligence systems that could calculate thousands of possible enemy actions in real time. Their crews had trained for decades in the brutal conflicts of human space, learning to fight against opponents who showed no mercy. Admiral Chen watched the battle with professional satisfaction. Her people were performing exactly as trained. The Kraxans were skilled fighters, but they relied too much on aggression and not enough on tactics. Against an enemy that combined human intelligence with superior technology, they had no chance. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "the Zephyrian ship is hailing us. Put them through." Captain Veltar's image appeared on the main screen. His large eyes were wide with amazement and gratitude. "Admiral Chen, this is Captain Veltar. We cannot thank you enough for coming to our aid." "Your ships are incredible," Chen nodded politely. "Captain, are you and your crew injured? Do you need medical assistance?" "Some of our people are hurt, but we will survive." "Admiral, who are you? What species builds ships like yours?" "We are humans from the Terran Federation. We received your distress call and came as quickly as possible." Veltar stared at her through the communication link. "Humans? We have never heard of your people before. Are you a military species?" Chen considered how to answer. "We come from a world that taught us to be strong, but we use that strength to protect those who cannot protect themselves." On the tactical display, the last 2 Kraxan ships were trying to escape. The Death's Mandible and another cruiser were running for the edge of the system, hoping to reach faster than light speed before the humans could stop them. "Should we pursue?" her navigation officer asked. Chen thought for a moment. "Let them go. They can carry word of what happened here back to their leaders." "Admiral," her weapons officer reported, "all remaining Kraxan vessels are disabled or destroyed. 7 ships destroyed, 3 disabled, 2 escaped. No human casualties," Chen nodded. The battle had gone exactly as planned. The Kraxans had learned that there were consequences for attacking innocent people. "Begin rescue operations. I want medical teams on the Zephyrian ship immediately. Engineering teams are to assess their damage and begin repairs." Within minutes, human shuttles were flying between the ships. Medical personnel rushed to help injured Zephyrians while engineers studied the alien technology with fascination. The same humans who had just fought with deadly efficiency were now working with gentle care to save lives. Captain Veltar floated in his command center, watching human soldiers move through his ship. Each one was tall and powerfully built, with dense bones and thick muscles that came from evolving on a high-gravity world. They moved with the controlled grace of predators, but their hands were gentle as they helped his wounded crew members. A human medical officer approached him. She was a tall woman with kind eyes and steady hands. "Captain Veltar, I'm Dr. Harrison. How are you feeling?" "I am well, Doctor. But my people, some of them were injured when the Kraxans boarded us. We're taking care of them. Our medical computers are adapting to Zephyrian biology very quickly. Your people should make full recoveries. Veltar felt overwhelming relief. Doctor, may I ask you something? Of course, your people. You are warriors, are you not? Your ships, your weapons, the way you fight. Everything suggests a species built for war. Dr. Harrison smiled sadly. Our world was not kind to us, Captain. We had to become strong to survive. But we learned something important along the way. What was that? That strength without compassion is just brutality. That the truly strong protect the weak instead of preying on them. Through his ship's sensors, Veltar could see the aftermath of the battle. Kraxan ships drifted dead in space or limped away with critical damage. The human fleet maintained perfect formation, ready for any new threat. But around the gentle current, human rescue ships worked tirelessly to repair the damage and save lives. These aliens had traveled across space to help people they had never met, risking their own lives for complete strangers. Veltar realized that his people's distress call had been answered by something more than just another spacefaring species. They had been found by the galaxy's new protectors. 3 days later, Captain Veltar stood in the observation lounge of the Indomitable, looking out at the stars through windows that could withstand direct hits from nuclear weapons. The human ship was unlike anything he had ever imagined. Every surface was designed for war, yet somehow it also felt like a place where people lived and worked together. Admiral, Chen sat across from him at a table made from what she had called compressed titanium. She held a delicate cup of tea in hands that Veltar now knew could crush cracks in armor. The contrast between her gentle movements and obvious physical power was something he was still getting used to. The repairs to your ship are almost complete, Chen said, sipping her tea. Our engineers were fascinated by your biotechnology. The way you grow your ship's hull from living organisms is remarkable. Veltar's gills fluttered with embarrassment. Thank you, Admiral. But compared to your technology, ours seems very primitive. Different, not primitive, Chen corrected. You build ships for exploration and discovery. We build them for survival and protection. Both approaches have value. Through the windows, Veltar could see the gentle current surrounded by human repair ships. His vessel looked tiny next to the massive human destroyers, but it was whole again. More importantly, his crew was alive and recovering. Admiral, Veltar said carefully, may I ask about your people? Your ships suggest a violent history. Chen's expression grew serious. Our homeworld Earth was not an easy place to evolve. High gravity, dangerous weather, predatory animals, natural disasters. For millions of years, only the strong survived. Then we developed intelligence and began competing with each other instead of just surviving nature. She set down her teacup and looked out at the stars. We fought wars for thousands of years. We nearly destroyed ourselves several times, but eventually we learned that our strength could be used to build instead of destroy, that protecting others made us stronger than conquering them. Veltar tried to imagine what such a world would be like. His own people had evolved in the peaceful depths of their oceans where cooperation was necessary for survival. Is that why you came to help us? Because you choose to protect instead of conquer? It's who we are, Chen said simply. The strong protect the weak. That's not just our military doctrine, it's our core belief as a species. A chime sounded over the ship's communication system. Admiral Chen to the bridge. Priority message incoming. Chen stood gracefully despite her obvious weight and muscle density. Would you like to come with me, Captain? This message might interest you. They made their way through corridors filled with human crew members. Veltar noticed how they moved. Always alert, always ready for action, but also respectful and disciplined. These were clearly professional soldiers, but they were also people who cared about each other. On the bridge, Lieutenant Morrison was working frantically at his communication station. Admiral, we're receiving multiple transmissions from across this region of space. The news of our engagement with the Kraxans is spreading fast. What kind of transmissions? Chen asked. Diplomatic overtures from peaceful species wanting to establish contact. Military communications from the Kraxan Dominion ordering all their ships to avoid human space and... Morrison paused, checking his readings. Distress calls from 3 other species currently under Kraxan attack. Chen's jaw tightened. Show me the locations. The main screen displayed a 3-dimensional map of local space. Red dots marked the positions of alien ships calling for help. Admiral, her second officer reported. We could reach the closest distress call in 18 hours. Veltar watched Chen's face as she studied the tactical situation. He could see her mind working through possibilities and consequences. Captain Veltar, she said without taking her eyes off the display. What can you tell me about the other species in this region? There are dozens of peaceful civilizations, Veltar replied. The Kraxans have been raiding them for years. Most are like my people, scientists, artists, philosophers. None have military capabilities, Chen nodded grimly. Morrison, send a message to Terra Command. Inform them that we have made first contact with multiple alien species, most of whom are currently being terrorized by a hostile empire. Request permission to begin humanitarian operations. Message sent, Admiral. Chen turned to address her bridge crew. Ladies and gentlemen, the situation has changed. We are no longer just a patrol fleet. We are now humanity's first representatives to an entire galaxy of civilizations. She paused, looking at each of her officers. I know this isn't what we signed up for, but those distress calls represent innocent people facing the same situation Captain Veltar's crew faced 3 days ago. We cannot ignore that. Admiral, her weapons officer said. What about the Kraxan Dominion? If we keep interfering with their operations, they'll eventually send a larger force against us. Chen smiled, and Veltar was surprised by how predatory the expression looked. Let them come. We'll be ready. Over the next several hours, Veltar listened as the human crew planned their response to the crisis. They discussed tactics, logistics, and diplomacy with the same professional efficiency they had shown in combat. These people truly were warriors, but they were warriors with a code of honor. Captain, Chen said during a quiet moment, I have a proposal for you. What is it, Admiral? Your people know this region of space better than we do. You understand the various species and their cultures. Would you be willing to serve as a liaison between humanity and the other civilizations? Veltar's eyes widened. You want me to help you make contact with other species? More than that. I want you to help us understand how to be good neighbors in this galaxy. We're new here, and we don't want to make mistakes that could harm innocent people. The offer was overwhelming. Veltar thought about his life as a simple research scientist, studying ocean currents and planetary formations. Now these powerful aliens were asking him to help shape the future of galactic civilization. I would be honored, Admiral. Chen smiled, and this time the expression was warm and genuine. Excellent. Your first mission will be to help us respond to those distress calls. We need to learn how to communicate with different species and understand their needs. As if summoned by her words, Morrison called out from his station. Admiral, we're receiving a response from Terra Command. Put it through. A stern-faced man appeared on the main screen. His uniform carried the insignia of a Federation admiral. Admiral Chen, this is Admiral Rodriguez at Terra Command. Your report about first contact has caused quite a stir here. The Federation Council is in emergency session. Understood, sir. What are our orders? You are authorized to continue humanitarian operations as you see fit. The Federation is mobilizing additional fleets to support you, but they won't arrive for several weeks. Until then, you are humanity's sole representative in that region. Chen straightened. We won't let you down, sir. I know you won't. Chen, the whole galaxy is watching now. Show them what humanity stands for. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in thoughtful silence. Well, Chen said to her crew, it looks like we have work to do. Navigation. Plot a course for the nearest distress call. All ships, prepare for humanitarian operations. As the human fleet changed course toward another crisis, Veltar reflected on how much had changed in just 3 days. His people had sent out a desperate plea for help, never imagining that their call would be answered by the galaxy's new guardians. The humans were everything the peaceful species had feared apex predators would be, incredibly powerful, technologically advanced, and absolutely deadly in combat. But they were also everything those same species had hoped such beings could become. Protectors of the innocent, defenders of the weak, and champions of justice. Veltar began composing his report to the Zephyrian Council. He had much to tell them about these remarkable humans and the new age they were bringing to the galaxy. We sent out a distress signal, hoping for rescue, he wrote. Instead, we found the galaxy's new protectors. The humans are proof that strength and compassion can exist together, that power can be used to heal instead of harm. Today marks the beginning of a new era for all peaceful species. Through the windows of the Indomitable, the stars seemed brighter somehow, full of new possibilities and hope for the future.